Hi, I'm Peoria Mayor Cathy Carlat. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Peoria Pulse. Throughout the city of Peoria, from border to border, we are connected. As residents, we are bound together by a common thread. Every person who resides here is part of the unique character that makes up our hometown. That is why I've launched this series called I Am Peoria. This is an opportunity to hear the stories and learn more about the people who live, work, and play in our great city. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Mr. Howard Openlander. A self-proclaimed history buff, Howard has developed a great appreciation for the rich past of Western civilization, particularly that of our great community. Howard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. You know, we met a number of years ago. We were at a public meeting and you came up to me and you showed me this big white binder just filled with documents that you had collected about Peoria's history. So tell me a little bit about your research into Peoria's history.
Well, it actually started in Chicago with family history and Chicago history. And since I moved here, if I understand the history of the area, I appreciate it more. And and as a child, I loved all the old westerns. And Peoria, actually, Arizona has a lot of western history that's not appreciated. You know, it's more appreciated for the Grand Canyon and the golf courses. But Arizona has a great western history. And so I just wanted to learn about the area.
So after you learned a little bit about the area, you just became more and more interested and learned more things, huh? So I think the book that you showed me had a lot of things about our mining history in it. Right. Can you talk a little bit about our mining history?
Well, the Sunrise Relief Mine at 91st and Happy Valley.
Sunrise Mountain.
Yes, and it was started around 1900, and it wasn't as good as the Vulture, but it did produce some gold. But the daughter of the owner kept every record of all the people who worked there, even what diseases that they died from, what the food was. And when they did the Happy Valley project, the company that did it did an extensive history of the mine and of the area, and it's very extensive. So you have probably no mine that I know of has the history of what the mine did.
And so that mine is, there's still an open mine there. It's got a bar over it, right? And I understand there's a lot of bats in it these days.
Well, that's one part, and the main shaft is closed, but the mine is still there. All the shafts and all that's down, and there's probably some gold left, but maybe not enough to work it.
Maybe not enough to conquer those bats. Not for me, that's for sure. Well, so I know that at one point you were a member of an archaeological society, and you were really wonderful to help serve on our Citizens Quality of Life Committee that had to do with saving some of our open space, our Sonora Preservation Program. Tell me a little bit about your experience with that committee and how you feel about the open space that we have in Peoria.
Well, the northern part of Peoria is so beautiful, and it's like the foothills of the Bradshaws and Lake Pleasant. And it is such a beautiful area. And if you drive along 74, you know, there's the Agrafia Valley, and eventually there will be housing, which is fine, but the point is that it's such a beautiful setting, and we should try to keep some natural things like the vegetation and hiking and bicycling, because people want that today. They want their nature, and they still want their house. And I think it's the prettiest part of the valley.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Right.
I think it is an absolutely beautiful place too, and I appreciate what you say about wanting to preserve some of that. I think it's really important that we do. We love to have our houses, but we don't need them in every single spot, do we?
No, no. And I mean, I would like to see, this can't be controversial, but 74, I'd like to see some of the northern part preserved as this open space in places where people can hike or even camp.
Yes. Well, you know, that reminds me, I know that you've got a particular interest in Castle Hot Springs. Right. Tell me a little bit about the history of that area.
The Indians were there, the Yavapai and the Apaches.
So they discovered the hot springs.
They discovered the hot springs, and then they built a hotel, and the rich, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers and Teddy Roosevelt and there are many famous people came there for the hot springs, and in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there wasn't many. It wasn't like Florida is today, and all the beautiful resorts. There were very few places to go. Yeah. And these people came and parked their train in Morristown and stayed at that little hotel there, and then took the stage, a 6-hour stage ride, to a hot springs.
Yeah, yeah, and they went there for the rejuvenation purposes of that water, which they still claim today as they are revitalizing that very same hotel.
Yes, and it's be wonderful.
Yes, I'm really, really pleased that that's part of Peoria's area. I know that the history there is going to be preserved. The hot springs are going to be preserved, and then they're going to try to make it again a destination place where people are going to want to travel to.
Yes.
Well, so tell me a little bit about what you think is really so special about Peoria, Arizona.
Well, as you drive around Peoria, everything looks so nice, and there isn't a bad part of it, you know, and everything is so. It just looks alive, and it just. I mean, you feel so secure, and there's no problems. I mean, you don't see any. There's no problems to see, and it's just a very comfortable, beautiful area. Yeah,
it really is. I love that you say that it feels alive and secure. Two of my favorite things. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a city that feels alive and looks like there's no problems? It is a very neat and beautiful and organized city, and our city staff works very, very hard to maintain that from each border, from border to border. It's a great place. I love living here too, and a great place to raise a family.
Right. What attracted me also was of course, the old town. Peoria has a lot of history, and the people came from Illinois, from Peoria, to start here. Right. And so it has a tie to Illinois, and then also but the northern part I just love, and it's so beautiful.
Well, that is one of the wonderful things. I get to work on preserving the open space and the beautiful natural environment in North Peoria, as well as try to bring out the history and revitalize our downtown and our historic roots all at the same time. You know,
well, the downtown looks really good.
Yeah.
It looks a lot better.
Yeah, thank you for saying so.
No, it does.
We're working really, really hard on that. So it's wonderful to have you here. I am glad that you transferred here from Chicago. We're just really pleased. You are an enrichment for the city of Peoria. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me for another edition of Peoria Pulse.